Hi, everyone. Welcome to Spill the Tea Radio, where we interview awesome singers, songwriters, and those who influence their lives. Spill the Tea Radio explores the journey, creativity, and inspiration behind the songs. My next guest is from Ottawa, Ontario. Her music is the imparting of life stories that listeners say hit so close to home. She believes that if you're writing about real life with a resonating melody and relatable lyrics, the music is timeless. Her albums have garnered her a top 20 standing at Blues and Roots Radio, International Music Contest Album of the Year in 2020 and 2024. So, let's spill the tea with Kae Shelby. Welcome, Kae.
Why, thank you. It's great to be here.
It's wonderful to have people from Ottawa. You're my second Ottawa area person
Oh,
today. I had one from Stittsville earlier today. So
lovely.
we're getting a lot of people from the Ottawa area, which really it I don't know, I shouldn't say surprises me, but it's so great that we have, such wonderful Canadian talent from right across Canada. I interviewed people from Edmonton and found out that there's a great jazz scene in Edmonton,
Mhm,
which I did
mhm,
not know existed.
mhm.
And
Yeah,
now finding out that there's so many wonderful artists that are from the Ottawa area as well.
for
So
sure, for sure.
okay, let's talk about you and how you got into music. This music is not your uh, latest career, or it's your latest career, but it's not your first career. You
That's right.
spent a number of years as an Ottawa police officer. You
I
taught
did.
at the Ontario Police College,
Yes.
and then you did some time as a military police officer as
Yes,
well. So
that was the front end. Yes.
tell us how you ended up with how did you end up in the police services, and how did you transition to music?
Well, I am 60, so I'll try to be brief. But I think the first piece I'd like to speak to is, that I am 60. I was really brought up at a time where, you went out and you got that job with the pension and you got that kind of security. So while I always knew that I wanted to be a singer-songwriter. I wrote poetry as a young child, a young adult. I followed my parents' advice and went out and got that job with the pension. However, what I will say to that is I did go into the profession that I was really called to do. If I couldn't do music, then policing was certainly something that I was interested in for, throughout my younger years. And so got to realize that dream. But the idea of, writing, singing, songwriting really never left me. But interestingly enough, I had the opportunity within policing to incorporate music, if you will. So my first foray into music and policing was when I was a school resource officer, and they had a concert as high schools will do, and I got my first opportunity to sing at one of their concerts, and it was a Terry Clark song. I can't quite recall the name of it, but I did a Terry Clark song, and then the second foray was when I worked at Ontario Police College. And, we have 392 recruits coming into this huge drill hall to write their midterm exams. And, like the air was thick with nerves and tension. And of course, there was a mic, on the stage. So anywhere there's a mic, I love to just go up to it and sing a few tunes. So while all of the students were outside of the drill hall waiting to come in, I kind of went up to the mic and sang this little diddly, which is I call it the Moo Moo song. Can you imagine how much I love you? And the proctor said, "Oh, you totally have to do that for the group." And I was at Ontario Police College for 7 intakes. And for 2 exams per intake, at every exam, I sang that song to the recruits. However, I will say on the last one, my 7th intake, it was just before Christmas. So I did Elvis Presley's "A Love Blue." Christmas, and the rest is history. and then, I left policing, started my own business. Had a time where I was taking care of both my parents. Was very, very heavily immersed in parental caregiving, and it takes its toll. And I just had this experience where I had a lot of panic and anxiety, and was really just overcome with the 9-10 years of parental caregiving. And the anxiety and the panic just, showed up, and all of a sudden I was having trouble breathing. And this went on for several months. And what I didn't do during that time was I did not sing, because I was so afraid to find out I wouldn't have enough breath to sing. And when I healed and recovered, I literally, would sing a line, then I would sing 4 lines, then I would sing the whole verse, then I would sing the verse and the chorus. And I promised myself, because that was what presented for me in terms of, oh my goodness, like, what if I cannot sing again? And that's where I realized singing was my first passion, my first love, and I was never going to deny myself that again. And here we are.
Now, I trust that when you did the singing at the Ontario Police College, they all gave you a standing ovation. I trust that.
They might have. And it's like a paramilitary system there, right? So they're all looking, and first their eyes are quite huge. And, oh my God, like that's Sergeant Kimakovich, because my name was Kimakovich at the time, and it's oh my God, I can't believe she's singing. And but it really did. Music heals, and music relieves, and music calms, and that was the purpose in doing that. And I'm glad I had the opportunity to do it.
What was the transition like when you were transitioning from policing to music? You did your time. You put your years in, and you said, okay, that was a great career, but now I need to move on. What was the trend? Because policing is, and maybe I should ask the question: what's the differences and similarities between policing and what you do now?
The first thing that comes up for me is there's no limitations on creativity and this is not a negative around corporate and organizational structures, but they really are very structured. Whether it's a military system, which I was in for 3 years, a paramilitary system, or just an organization or corporation in and of itself, they have to run a particular way. Whereas in the world of arts, and specifically for me, music, it really is about like how far and where are the places and spaces we can take this. And that's the part that really does live inside of me, is like what else can we do with this, and how can we make this something that it's going to have that kind of impact on somebody's life, that if we didn't do it, they would never have that experience. So it's just it's freedom to create, freedom to consider, how good can we make this? And that's, not at all to suggest that I did not enjoy my career, because I did. I had so many great opportunities in my career, my formal career. But this is where the passion really does live, for sure, for sure.
What you are doing now, as far as a give back, is something that uh, you know many artists will do once they have a long established career. They will start to do the give back. Most artists at the beginning of their professional music career need every penny they they have to pay the rent and buy food. But you are donating 25% of the proceeds from your music to a charity of your choice. Tell us about the charity and why you decided to do this.
Yeah, the charity of my choice is the True Patriot Love Foundation, and they are a foundation and an organization that supports military and paramilitary personnel who are suffering from PTSD. And it's near and dear to my heart. I think in that world, the propensity, the potential for someone to be exposed, whether it's an accumulative type of PTSD, or a situation that arises that now you're in the throes of this syndrome. We really need more supports. I think we're getting to the point where there's less stigma associated and attached to it. But the reality of it is we need the support system specifically for this. And like anything, not for profit, wanting to be able to acknowledge both my former military colleagues and my paramilitary colleagues in policing, wanting to acknowledge them and support them how I can. These are the moments where I wish that revenue stream was much, much bigger, because I'd love to be able to support them in a bigger way. But that I can, I'm grateful, and I do, and I will continue to do that for sure.
Well, let's get into one of the songs that Kae wrote. This song is the title track from her current album. It reached the 14th spot on the Canadian Indie Country Countdown Music Charts. So let's take a listen to singer-songwriter Kae Shelby and her song, Unbroken.
The fog-heavy skies, they parted. The dark of the night became the day. The ghosts that were hers made their way up and out. There was no more need for them to stay. A heart that was lifted in that shining light, piercing the cracks in the walls of another's fight. And swords crossed at attention on her once weary chest. Well, they come to the easy. She was safe, she could rest. And the days may rise darker than some. A heart that is loved can never be known. And she'll look over her shoulder at her lover's gaze, remind her that she's safe in all love's ways. She's becoming unbroken. She's becoming unbroken. The wounds will stay with a fighter's pride, a patient heart letting in love and desire. It's a graceful journey now that will lead her home to a place where she and her lover will always roam. Oh, and the days may rise darker than some. A heart that is loved can never be known. She'll look over her shoulder at her lover's gaze, remind her that she's safe in all love's ways. Because she held on, she moved through the hurt, she came through the pain, she walked through the dirt, until that day that their eyes met, and then it all fell away, loving her deeper every day. She's becoming unbroken, becoming unbroken, becoming
That was Unbroken by Kae Shelby. Kae, tell us about that song and what the inspiration was to write it.
That song, Unbroken. Well, the title speaks for itself. It's coming into the realization that, after coming out of a very difficult time in my life, I have become unbroken. And the original title of that song was Becoming Unbroken. And if you listen to the lyrics, it's all about the becoming unbroken. And then for the sake of the album, we decided to call it Unbroken, the title track. And it really was that. And if I can give you the, like, Sicily, 1963, I was literally in the middle of COVID on Vancouver Island. I had rented this beautiful home with an expanse of windows. I was looking out onto the ocean, and what I realized was every morning I would get up and the fog would roll in and the fog would roll out. And it was just like, 1 minute you thought you were going to be in a haze all day, and then 15 minutes later it was gone. So on this particular morning, I had, been vacuuming, and when I went down to vacuum under the couch, it was foggy. When I came back up, it was, the fog had broken. And that's the first line of the song, "The fog, heavy skies, they parted." But what it was really speaking to, because this is what was going on for me, right? Discovering that I was unbroken, discovering that I could love, discovering that I could love safely again, discovering that I could be loved safely again. And so it was just waiting there to be written. And that moment in time with that opening line, it really, the rest of the lyrics, and it was just another one. This doesn't happen often, David, but this was another one of those songs where in 15 minutes I had this song written. I had a chord progression, discussed it with my producer. He worked his magic on it, and we have the song Unbroken. And it really does tell the story of becoming unbroken.
Hey, how do people find out more about you and your music? What's the website? What are the socials where they can go and find out more about you, your music, and where you are gigging?
For sure. My website, www.kaeshelby.ca. So it's Kae Shelby.ca, and on that opening page they'll see all of the links to my socials. I am on Twitter, I am on Instagram, I am on TikTok. Not as busy on TikTok, but I certainly am there. And of course I'm on SoundCloud, Reverb Nation, so the music can be found everywhere. Amazon, and I think when I put the album out there, it's on all of the typical platforms that we're aware of, and then it's on all of the others after that. So, but again, kaeshelby.ca will get them to all of that.
We have been in conversation with Kae Shelby. Kae, thanks for being with us.
Thank you very much, David. I appreciate the opportunity.